Time with Anderson. We're taking a look at Lightroom today. In Lightroom, we're in library right now. So this mode right now is library. We have develop, that's where we're going to edit the pictures. But we're in library and we have these thumbnails where we can scroll through and look at our images. Right now I have a filter on, which is, I use a labeling system. So show photo with green labels. If I click on this blue label, it would show my photos with blue labels and green labels. I'm going to click off the green label. So it's only showing the photos with blue labels. So I did a photo shoot and they were of different people and for also different things. So it had headshots as well as some action shots, as you can see here. And so one group of individuals got the blue shots, one group of individuals got the green shots, or if I simply wanted to label them, they're different people, they're headshots. So if I click off the blue, let's say I click on the red, there's no photos with a red filter, so no photos are actually going to come up for that. So I'm clicking off the red. And you have to turn your filter bar on or off. There's your little filter button. So the green photos are the ones I haven't edited, and these are some Pilates shots for a physical therapy office. So there's quite a lot to edit in some of these photos. So I've gone through and I've already selected which ones I want based on the green filter. So let's take this photo and go through some pretty basic steps of editing in Lightroom that you want to do. One of the first steps is white balance. So in here you come and there's this cool little color picker right here. The white balance selector, and as you scroll over everything, what you're actually looking for is the green and blue values to be the same. And so it looks like 69 and 71 are pretty close. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. That looks good, but I'm going to come back again and I'm going to see, this might be a little too white. I think his pants are actually beige, if I remember correctly. So anything in the photo that is supposed to be gray, I actually like that a lot better, and I'm just kind of eyeballing the numbers here as I'm doing this. This is that sort of ugly fluorescent lighting, so it's definitely something worth kind of figuring out where in the scene you can find a good white balance. I like my photos a little more cool tone, so I'm going back to the more cool tone one. One of the first things I want to do is play with the exposure here. So I'm going to bring it up. This photo seems a little dark. Some of these things are to taste. I can just edit the highlights, or I could bring the highlights down, which is what I'm guessing I'm going to do on this. I could just edit the shadows. I am going to just edit the shadows on this. I'm going to make it a little flatter and then adjust some of the darks with the contrast. And that's bringing that down a little bit. So I'm really compensating for those really sort of terrible overhead lights. I'm not going to do anything with the blacks right now. I'm gonna go ahead and do that in my curves. Shooting pretty high ISO on this, as you can see. So I'm moving in here. Okay, so I'm going to zoom back out. These are for websites, advertising. I want it to be pretty clean, simple. I'm not too concerned about the ISO. Next thing I want to do, so I've done white balance, exposure. Now I want to come in and think about contrast. So I'm going to bring that up a little bit and bring this curve down a little bit there. Okay, so I like the darkness. Oops, I always do that. I like the darkness, but I'm going to bring this up just a little bit just to kind of keep it out of that sort of like really, really black, dark look. So I'm getting a little bit more contrast here. I'm not sure what I think. I think I might come back and see if I should up the exposure. I can always kind of come back to the curve leader. I'm going to desaturate this a little. Seems a little bright to me. I want to focus on the people, really. And again, just anything to kind of compensate for those sort of horrible yellowy overhead lights. I already have the shallow depth of field going. So if I get really particular, I could pull it into Photoshop and make it look even more shallow. So I've gone through white balance, exposure, contrast. Now in here, I can come and actually make specific color adjustments. I can make the red of his shirt a little darker. Actually, I was just doing that to show you, but I just kind of like it. Pull the aquas down, the blues down. That looks pretty unpleasant. And this is also where you can change the hue. Let's say that I want the red of his shirt to be orange. I could change it to that. I am okay with red. It makes a nice pop of color. So the saturation, this rug to me is a little bit distracting in the foreground. So I'm going to play with the blues a little bit here and see if I could just get them to desaturate. I actually like that a lot better. So I basically took out anything that isn't those gold and red tones. I basically took out all the blues, and I like it because it definitely simplified my picture. Once you start messing around with the red and the orange, sometimes it will affect the skin tone, but I think that this version of Lightroom has gotten a little bit smarter when it comes to skin tones. So here we go. Detail is something you just never want to skip. So should pop up little box. Okay, so here you want to come in here and sharpen. This is pretty high ISO, so you're coming in, you're sharpening. And then you're going to add back in some of the softness. So I'm looking for the details of her fingers here and the edge of the shirt, but I want the skin to kind of have that soft appearance to it. So there we go, bringing that back a little bit. I'm looking for my mask right now, and for some reason I am not seeing it. There should be a little box right here that gives me a mask, or I can actually mask between the two. And I'm not sure. Aha! There it is. That teeny tiny arrow. So now I'm going to look at her glasses, which is an area of detail. That little box is always going to be at 100%. So I'm going to go ahead and pump these back down to 0 because I want to show you. So there it is. I'm going to sharpen. So I'm looking kind of for the little highlight on her glasses. And then luminance, I'm looking to bring back some of the softness in her cheeks. And again, this is something that you can kind of do to taste. So I brought it back just a little bit more. And then I'm going to hit Option. And basically I am telling the photo that everything in black is going to be soft, have that luminance applied to it, and everything in white is going to have the sharpening applied to it. I'm going to keep bringing that up a little bit more. So I think that's good. I like that. I think that's as good as we're going to get with the ISO that we are working with. Lens corrections, but we're actually going to come out of that and come in here to effects. Okay, and I'm liking this photo a lot more, even though I still hate photos shot in overhead lighting. I probably shouldn't have chosen this one, so I didn't keep talking about it. So I'm going to do my little signature thing, which is to add a little bit of a vignette here. I like the tone it gives it. It's personal preference. I can bring my midpoint way in, but however, I'm just looking for more corners, so I'm actually going to bring my mid-tone way out. Or excuse me, my midpoint. I'm liking this a lot better than the original, so we could do this and take a look right there. And I'm going to come back to basic here and just see if I want to pull the exposure up just a pinch. And see, I'm going to pull that saturation down just a pinch. Okay. And then let's pull the shadows up just a little bit more. And that's giving sort of a more natural look on her. And I'm going to come back into my tone curve. Just kind of get that exactly where I want it. Okay, so I'm going to click off the before and after, but as you can see, it's a very different photo now. This, even though if we just look at the before, even if we just look at it as it is, this kind of seems like a normal looking photo to us. But if we click on the two side by side, this actually was our quote-unquote normal looking photo. And as I'm looking back, I mean, I didn't even notice that there's this blue foam roller here and the blue carpet. And because I neutralized that, now it kind of fades a lot more nicely into the background. So this is our final image. And I have a series of images that are similar. So here's another image. They're doing some different work here. So I'm just going to go ahead and try this button right here and go with my previous edits. So that just applied all the previous edits, and already that looks a lot nicer. So now once I've done that, I can actually come back in and fiddle around with some of the settings that are in there and fix this particular photo. But I mean, as I'm keeping going, one thing that really stands out is definitely the white balance. So every single photo that you go through and edit, you want to take through these basic editing steps. And once you've done that, then you can start to really use this as a tool. So this is Lightroom, the basic steps of editing on Lightroom. We want to take all of these through: exposure, contrast, color or black and white, sharpening, any other post-production,